I'm Roy Potter, a former U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel. Welcome to the Potter Expositor. Hi ladies and gentlemen, today is August 17th, 2017, and yesterday I put up a Periscope, and it's basically about the failure of our system to protect and serve the citizens, the individual Americans, the American people. And I'd like to refer to some of that today. Actually, I said in the Periscope that I was going to make this video and cover all that information again for YouTube, but that's probably not going to happen. For one thing, I found out that Periscope allows you to talk for quite a while, and so being as verbose as I am, I took about 25 minutes, maybe a little more on that, and of course I only do 15 on these YouTube videos. And I'm going to keep it there. Even if YouTube did give me more time, I don't think I'm going to do that. First of all, I want to thank President Donald Trump for standing up all alone there at that presser where he took the questions about his stand on Charlottesville. The twisting, the lies, the accusations, the deceits, the false reporting, all of that aimed at him by the MSM and by practically the entire power structure, which is also aimed at the American people as a whole. You are really seeing a coup take place right now, and the big money has paid. For one thing, I mentioned in the Periscope yesterday again about Operation Mockingbird, and presently the CIA having a contract with the Washington Post, for instance, for $600 million, and a lot of people know about that. You can Google it and see that it's even mainstream news. So we don't have a free press in America. It's bought and paid for by the people that want to enslave us. So, you know, I don't know if Trump told his staff to stay back and not to say anything. Particularly, I'm talking about his Chief of Staff, General Kelly. A lot of people have complained about how he stood by there, and I don't know if he was told to do that by Trump or not. It all depends, but it didn't look very good that the president was out there again all by himself with really no support. Nothing against the few people that were there with him, but at the same time he stood up like a man and he told it like it is. And it's like I've said for a long time now, and a lot of people are saying it. This is the dividing time. The good and the evil are going to be plainly manifest. On the bad side, interestingly, you're going to have people that call good evil and evil good. And of course, they'll probably say that about those who oppose their position or who stand for liberty, the perfect law of liberty in particular. But this dividing is happening, and it's very plain along the lines of good and evil. Very, very plain. So not much us mortals can do but choose a side, and that's where we are. So I'm not here to go into a whole lot of that other than to say I think President Trump, you know, I've had my doubts about him. I've supported him. I believe, for instance, that he is basically had the hand of God placed upon him, and as all of us, he still has to decide what he's going to do with that. There's no force involved. He either accepts the job or he doesn't. And what I saw him to do with the lying mainstream media and the pressures that are upon him in that presser that he had the other day at Trump Tower, I think he's all in. The difficulty is, of course, this coup that's underway, and it's very, very serious. So, at any rate, if he had given some ground here back with signing the Russian sanctions bill, and some other things. I think now he's realized that there isn't any more of that that's going to happen. So we'll wait and see. All right. Again, I just want to say thank you to President Trump for standing up, and that's what you really need to do. Even if no one else in your staff is there, there are people in the American population here who will stand by you. We just need to make sure that you're going to return that loyalty that we want to give to you, and that you're not going to leave us out there in the desert without support. We'll see if you're going to pardon Sheriff Arpaio. That's the word. I hope that's the case, and I hope that you use your power to overturn the corruption in the DOJ and in the FBI and in the court system, to free men and women who have stood against these corrupt politicians, and it's cost them their liberty. Maybe not in their spirit, but in their physical. And that needs to be reversed. And you need to show the courage to do that. I'll just leave it there on that. Okay. What I covered in the Periscope yesterday, and I'm just going to cover it quickly here. As usual, I take up too much time. There was a story that was carried by True Pundit. It was from the Daily Caller, and it's about, it was August 15th, 2017. The title was, "Obama is Gone, but Not His Administration's Crusade to Crush a Farmer." And we've seen this all along. I've talked about how what the BLM and the EPA, all of these different bureaucracies do is they're shutting down our food-producing systems, our food-producing people in this country. And that's part of what the Stalinist purges were, to cut off the agriculture, to take control of it, and then to use that to war upon their people. And he ended up killing millions of his people as a result. And they're going to try to do that here. Anyway, this particular story was about the Duarte Nursery Incorporated in Northern California. The EPA, along with the Army Corps of Engineers and the Department of Justice, are prosecuting this family, who, by the way, they have like 500 employees, so it's not a small thing. They're trying to prosecute them on some wetlands issues and the Clean Water Act. And what I brought up in this Periscope, if you want to go look at it on my Twitter, is that I used to work for the Army Corps of Engineers. I was the Provost Marshal for them over a period of years for different times. And at one point I did basically a security inspection, I guess you could call it that. That was part of the thing. But what it involved is watching how these federal workers spend their time. There are too many government workers. This is the bottom line. There are too many government workers. They have too much money to spend, and they have too much time on their hands. So, like in the Declaration of Independence, there are swarms, they become swarms of officers to eat out the substance of the people. So when they're not sitting there playing games on their computers, and I gave this information to the commander, you can go back and see this Periscope, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it here, but I did this inspection, this little surveillance situation. Found out they were spending, out of an 8-hour day, like 6 hours on games on their computers. And when they did get a job done, it was to harass people who had had land for up to 200 years or more, and a lot of those people lost their homes because of these ridiculous regulations that harm the people. They're not protecting the American people. They're making war against them. And so I'm here to bring that out. Now, this is exactly the same thing that happened in the Hammond Ranch in Oregon and in the Bundy Ranch in Nevada, and I've talked about these before. On Periscope I get into a lot of detail, but basically it's not really an issue of protecting resources or anything else. It's about stealing the land. In Oregon, for Clinton's deal with the Uranium One and the Russia sale on uranium, and in Nevada with Harry Reid selling the information to the Chinese for the so-called solar farms, and the EPA was involved in both of those, and the BLM enforced it. And rather than being police officers, which they're not, they're edict regulation officers, they are not there to protect the rights and liberties of the American people, but to assist corrupt politicians in removing those liberties from them. And then I jumped into Charlottesville, explained the Charlottesville thing, and that in fact this was totally presented by the media in basically a lie in an accusatory fashion that had as its ultimate target Trump and Trump supporters who have nothing to do with Nazism. Yeah, the Nazis showed up there. It's interesting that if you know the history, and I'm not going to go through it here, but Antifa really is basically authoritarian, and we've seen that in all of the way they attack people. And of course the neo-Nazis are basically the same thing as the Antifa. But at any rate, the original demonstration was really about the Robert E. Lee statue. It was a very small group of people that had a permit, and then it was seized upon by the mayor, by the governor of Virginia, by Soros, by these different actor companies that bring in protesters, and just people in general who are just, you know, totally polarized one way or another, and they created this terrible situation that happened there by design. And the government, the CIA, the FBI, and Soros-backed people pushed it. I'll just leave it at that. The point is that the police allowed it to happen despite, you know, even if the mayor or governor told them to stand down, they have an obligation to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. They didn't take an oath to support and defend the mayor or the governor, or even the president for that matter. And they have their duty to protect and serve. Well, we saw them stand down in Berkeley and didn't do that. They did it in Charlottesville, and basically these federal agencies like the DOJ, the FBI, the BLM, etc., they're also not abiding by their oath of office, but and not protecting the American citizens in their liberties, American people, let me put it that way, protecting the American people in their liberties, but in fact are actively fighting a war against the American people, as we see an example at Duarte, Bundy Ranch, Hammonds, Red River in Texas, which finally got adjudicated. But at any rate, a lot of things like that happen. The poor Amish with their raw milk, those kinds of things. So I won't spend a whole lot more time here about that. I just wanted to bring it up, make sure that I covered that in a short YouTube video. So end it here by saying that, again, I publicly want to say I support Trump 100% when he's doing, well, 100% period, but I'm still going to call him out when he's not quite on the straight and narrow. Yes, he's a politician, but if in fact, and I believe he thinks this, I think he believes it, that the hand of God was placed upon him to put him where he is, he needs to stop being conciliatory with evil. He can't compromise with the devil and at the same time ask God for his support. And I mentioned that at the end of one of the last videos. So I'm saying it again. Stand your ground, President Trump. The American people, the real American people, will stand behind you. But like you are looking for support from below, we're looking at from above. We've got to meet in the middle, and you've got to start getting people around you who are committed to this. I'm not sure your staff is. Again, I don't know if you told Kelly to stand by like that or not. I don't know. It didn't look good to me. It looked like he wasn't happy, maybe because you did tell him to stay on back and not get involved, let you handle it. I don't know. But the body language wasn't very good, despite what some other Army officers have said about it. All right. Thank you for that. Beware. Get yourselves prepared. This is going to get nasty before it gets better. I'd like to say that God is going to turn it out for us and benefit the perfect law of liberty, but this nation has been very wicked for a very long time. Not just wicked, evil, very evil. So I'm not certain if the reprieve that we've been given is going to ultimately free us from these bonds. But we still have to pick a side and do the best we can. Prepare, get your provisions, your water, everything that you need to make it through some rough times. As I've said all along, keep your eyes on the horizon and your ears to the ground out here.